Right, hello, I'm Dr. Chaos. Welcome to Total War Warhammer 3. We are doing a run through with Astragoth Ironhand and the Disciples of Attrition, Chaos Dwarves. So yeah, he gets conclave influence from all sources, extra research rate, and extra control, while he specifically has mechanical overdrive for better attack and weapon damage. The more kills he has, more replenishment for his army, and Bull Centaur renders ward save, which that's basically just these guys. We start off by pushing south. Our goal is to take our starter province. I generally like turning my starter province into a outpost province so I can earn raw materials. The thing is, Uzalak is interesting because of the Great Drill of Ashut. Needs some workers here anyway, so turning it into a outpost province is useful to have it consolidated. However, it does have an iron resource building, which does give would give boosts to armament production if I did go the factory route. So, victory conditions first. Basically, take the Darklands. Cool. Take out the greens. Take out a bunch of the greenskins in the kind of round area, including Grimgor, Azag, what's his name? Skarsnik and Gorbad, and win a bunch of battles, and I get a powerful reward. And basically attack throughout the old world, take a bunch of the major settlements, and get a lot of captives. And I'll get rush construction labor costs, construction cost reduction, and income, plus a thing which makes building stuff even easier. Following on from that, our goal is to continue east, because Grimgor is one of those factions that you want to take out very early, because he gets very strong in the later game. So it's generally a better idea to immediately go after him. The way Chaos Dwarf armies work, so you have labourers, they're slaves, basically crappy goblins and orcs. Not very great. You would rather have hobgoblins, a little bit better than labourers, but they're still goblins. They are decent enough, especially with the flaming arrows on the archers, and then while you then have a lesser amount of like a Chaos Dwarfs or full Chaos Dwarf armies. But they're a lot stronger than hobgoblins. However, because of the need for armaments, you can't really pump them out as effectively. Next to the path to the east, we are pushing to the mountains. The plan is to turn this into a factory province. Seeing the way the wind was blowing, we end up buddying up with Tamakan, at least for a bit, because, well, he was beating up Kolek really effectively, as ends up happening. And we take this opportunity to jump a wounded Kolek, and take him out, which obviously didn't help his faction's chances. Most of my armies ended up being hobgoblin stacks. The exception ended up being Astragoth, who I did eventually swap out for a full Chaos Dwarf Force, and then Zatan at a later date. Our next target was Grimgor. While it is kind of cheesy, we did lock his army out from the settlement so he could pick it off, kind of as a ad hoc lightning strike. With the plan being to convert this province also into an outpost province, because raw materials are very useful and you desperately need them to keep especially the early game economy afloat, especially because a lot of the buildings actually require them. So it doesn't take long for us to take out Grimgor, with some help from Tamarkan. But the thing is, there are those who like to say that, oh, being friends with Nogle's bad because you'll get plagues constantly going in your lands. I don't think I got plague. I think I might have got in a plague once, spread into my lands the entire campaign, and it didn't spread any further. Like, Chaos Dwarves have numerous ways to reduce infectivity chance. There's a research which lowers it by like 25%, and then one of their province commandments can lower it by a further, like, I think like by another 25 or something. We decided to continue south. Needed some more laborers, so we took them from the local ogres. During this, we did also make friends with, we did also then sell these settlements off to Goldtooth for at least a temporary, like, non-aggression, because to minimize attack coming from below. But the province of Yeti Peak we did take for ourselves to turn it into a small manufacturing province. Great thing about Chaos Dwarves, they can very easily pump out like full stacks in like a single turn. Early game, it like can be a full stack of hobgoblins. Later game, you can even get like a full stack of actual Chaos Dwarf units. Later on, I literally globally recruited some Chaos Dwarf Dreadquake mortars, but it literally was quicker than locally recruiting them. At this time, Sale was taking out Zatan. So once I refitted Astragoth and Jamek's army, Jamek to be our Hobgoblin specialist to go along with Astragoth, who was going to be primarily Chaos Dwarf blunderbusses at this point, we had our next target. So a few turns later we pushed into Sale's lands. I only really wanted to take this province, the Stone Sky Foothills, primarily for the Volary, but it has a unique building which makes Hobgoblins cheaper, which means even when I had like like 5 or 6 armies, a Hobgoblin stack still only costs like $1,000, $1,500. But following that, Archaon did kind of dominate Tamarkan. Took him out, so I pieced up with Archaon, got alliances with him instead. Basically, I didn't want to deal with any threat potentially coming from the north, so I just tried to keep that peaceful for the most part. Meanwhile, I sent Astragoth and Jamek back around to go after Karak Kudrin and Ungrim, because they had started pushing into the Darklands, and I need to hold the Darklands either myself or with allies for one of my victory conditions. And also, Ungrim's a dwarf, we're a Chaos Dwarf, we kinda dislike each other. So, we continue pushing south. My original plan was to hold a bunch of these provinces, however, in the end, I decided to basically hand these all over to Dawi-Zharr the Attrition, to our south, because we needed a military alliance with him anyway, and getting along with him is more beneficial than not. We also have the ogres. They were being taken out by Dawi-Zharr. While I did keep some seats, I mostly didn't care about the various seats. I let Dawi-Zharr keep them for the most part. I did confederate Zatan, I did confederate the servants of the Conclave eventually, but I kind of let Dawi-Zharr live. I could have confederated him, but I didn't really need to, and having a faction that can pump out a lot better armies at a more concentrate than I can just worked out better for me. Now, unfortunately, here we got caught out by the dwarves. They did fully wipe this force, but it ended up being a blessing in disguise as I refitted Astragoth's army for a Fireglaive focused one, which it's an upgrade, flat up upgrade. While from this point, it's either this loss or the next one. I just ended up not using Gorgut's backstabber again. Not for any real harm or anything. I never set up another army. I just sent Astragoth on his own for most of the rest of the campaign. This did also bring us out a few of our Hobgoblin stacks, because they actually do pretty decent in auto-resolve for the most part. So I just kind of had a couple of stacks to, like, especially numbers-wise, so just had a couple of stacks to hold the point for the, in case Krakadrin ever tries to breach into our core lands again. We did lose the province to the south of our core lands, and by the time we started retaking it, Dawi-Zharr had taken a bunch of it, like some of it, so I just kind of traded the rest over to him. Now comes what I would argue is one of my major issues. I basically cut ties with Archaon and instead buddied up with Throt, because he controls a bunch of the Northern Empire, and one of my victory conditions was to control some of the Empire with military allies and stuff. So I just quickly kind of cheesed it by trading settlements over with Throt for military alliance. At this point, I did confederate the servants of the Conclave, which gets me my first victory condition. Oh.
Echoed throughout the minds of the Dawi-Zharr is a legend of immeasurable power.
Oh.
Hidden deep under the mountains.
So the base.
A liquid magic so potent it can raise entire cities, leaving nothing but cinders and ash. Eager to exploit this power, the sorcerer prophets of Zharr sought to reach the source of this demonic substance. the domain of their malign god, Ashut, the father of darkness. For centuries they dug, exhausting countless workers as they delved deeper than the mountain roots themselves. 2 ashen moons ago, in the depths of the darkest pit, a discovery was made.
The Arkenstone.
A trickle of pure power. A crimson seam divining a way through the rocky layers to where Ashut dwells. And so, it was bottled in a vessel of infernal design, rushed to the surface through the fires of industry, to the highest authority. In the council chambers of Astragoth Ironhand, it was presented. Roiling with unholy energy, its gloriously terrible glow glinted in the eyes of all who set their gaze upon it. The blood of Ashut. Far rarer than warpstone and gold, very few vials had ever been extracted from the mines. The key to limitless power. Astragoth, high priest of Ashut, roared to the god of darkness. And he replied. Ancient channels etched in rock flow with molten fury. A great drill shall be constructed, forged in the dread fires of the Darklands, imbued with strength to bore through the bedrock and breach a godly domain.
Urtsi will shaba anu.
The forge burns. The fires catch from the depths. The Chaos Dwarves will rise.
Okay. But yeah, the thing is, that's the... I don't know whether it's base game or because of the mod, but it basically then kind of tacked on the Realm of Chaos campaign onto the end. It might be base game because I know once you get the legendary the long campaign victory in base game, it says it gives you the gives you quests for the relics from the short campaign. So I don't know whether it also adds that stuff on top. But yeah, we then also, as well as buddying up with Throt, we did also buddy up with Vlad von Karstein in the exact same way, basically trading a bunch of settlements over. And it did work. We basically got all the settlements required for our the third victory in the end. At this time, we're also working towards the second victory path. Literally, all we needed to do was take out Gorbad, completely wipe his faction from the map. So at this point, we were kind of trading off most of the settlements to Drazowith. But there's the thing in the back of my mind, basically going, "Hey, at any point, I can take this over." Literally, click of a button. This stuff's mine. But, yeah. Though, this did lead us into the endgame crisis, at least it being woken up. Dwarves. It's the dwarves. Oh. Well, this is when it actually triggered. Sorry, I must have skipped past in the editing process where it was. It's fine. Thing is, I didn't really do too much about it. I kind of let my allies deal with it, which is simple. Easy enough for... Well, I jumped on Karakazul. I then created some armies to go jump on Karakazorn over in the Mountains of Morn. I let Astragoth deal with Krezakrak. I did buddy up with Ikiclaw for a while, but that fell through, so I had to get it myself anyway. So I took Karakern, I took Zufbar. I then had to finish off by taking Kurak-Kudrin at the very end of the campaign. Final thing I did. Oh yeah, and I'm pretty sure the kind of warning for the endgame triggered once I did the second victory, which I assume with victory condition overhaul, it counts as the equivalent of winning a, like, as long campaign victory. I did make friends with Scarbrand, which is how I got Zarakazil as well, under my kind of completion for the victory. And I did kind of fine, I'll do it myself, to create an army to actually finish off Gorbad, because honestly Drazorith was just dancing around his Gorbad's final settlement for like 10-20 turns at that point, just refusing to take it, so I just quickly recruited a stack and took him out. Yep, so finally I took out Gorbad. I traded the settlement away. I did take Carricade Peaks, that settlement, as well as the one below it for myself. Turned them into factory provinces, same with Karakern, and then eventually Karak-Zufbar. And here we decided to take Grimgor as a slave. Honestly, the other option might have been better, but having Grimgor as a slave is just too cool an opportunity to pass up. It does give boost to labourers, but let's face it, I wasn't using labourers at all. While the other one makes it so... but I didn't have any labour issues either, so it didn't really matter. But yeah, Grimgor, he gave a bunch of buffs to labourers, if I actually recruited any labourers. And the thing is, I didn't even take him... I think I had him in an auto-resolve, and that's the only battles I had him in. And for some reason, it chucked me into the... like, it gave me the option to do the campaign end battle for the Chaos Dwarf campaign. So I did. It ultimately ended up being set up Fireglaive gun lines. It was take out some dwarves, take out some demons, then take out more dwarves. Like, quite literally, once the in the final one, it was literally just take out the leaders and then the rest of the force runs. Which, funnily enough, very easy when you can literally just snipe with, you know, gun line.
The ultimate blessings of the Shut are nigh. Bound to the great drill, the ancestor relics cede their power to the diabolical machine. A terrifying feat of forgecraft to bore into the chaos realm. The blood of the bull god, now at the fingertips of the worthiest Dawi-Zharr. Yet there are those who seek to interfere with the Shutt's plan. The Dawi seek vengeance for the pilfering of their relics. By braving this place, they surely bring doom upon themselves.
Ashaturak counts for eternal foes.
I'm taking those losses. That is fun.
Once more, the dwarves of the West prove how weak they truly are. For even their High King lies dead upon the field.
It hurts me to kill dwarves like this, but
The blood of Hashut gushes from ancient reservoirs, filling great halls with liquid power. Sorcery, once thought impossible, can now be cast. Spells to shatter mountains. Having fulfilled Hashut's will, Astragoth feels the old power return to his petrified form. At last, the High Priest regains his position of preeminence. All must bow before his hybrid majesty, or be sacrificed in the fires of Dżarr-Nagrund.
But yeah, one thing that the victory did give me was the blood of Hashut. Basically, I could, for all sorts of profits, heroes, they got an extra ability. I could basically just point them at a settlement and they'd destroy it. It could only be done once every 10 turns per sorcerer. But at this point, I had a cap of like, I think it was like 8 or so, like 6 or 8 or something. And at this point, I did it to go, hey, I should get some more in. Didn't really use it too much. I literally just used it for testing. I was gonna see if I was gonna use it on Skaven Blight, but then I realized I can't do it on Skaven Blight because there was a Herdstone right next to it, and that just causes issues. Like I could have, I couldn't take Skaven Blight after, which is what I would have wanted to do. Tempted to do similar with Hell Pit. Tempted to do similar with and then I did do it with Dawi-Zharr, which sent a Lord, sent with the hero down, took it, and honestly, great fun. More than a little broken though. That it is very powerful, especially because it's like hero based. Again, I don't know whether that's because of one of the mods or because of it's just a base game thing. But yeah, finally, after so long, we took Krakadrin, took it to the tower, and this did win us the final campaign victory we needed to. But we just had to control 7 of the kind of dwarven settlements. We ended the campaign here because we completed all our goals. I didn't really need to do anything else, but let's face it, I'd have to defend that settlement if I ever do want to continue, or trade it off, one of the two. I did test the character saving thing. It ultimately didn't pan out. So yeah. But yeah. So, what next? I could do another Total War Warhammer series, could do a different Total War game. I'm tempted to do a playthrough of Atomfall, or maybe one of the other games in my library. I do know I need to get better at editing. Slight issue is the fact that, like, well, it's simple. I just don't really want to. The thing I am noticing is this edited video, despite being less unedited content, is going to be longer than the Tyrion one was. I'll figure it out. Though I suppose there's more like cutscenes, especially stuff I kept in. Anyway, I'll figure it out, figure out what I want to do next. Like, subscribe, do YouTube stuff, please. Anyway, until next time, goodbye.